Dr. Gary Chapman's background in anthropology has certainly played into his wisdom about how we relate to each other. Dr. Chapman, 25 years of the love languages. You just didn't have an idea pop into your head. You learned the hard way that this is vitally important in all our relationships, because this book now is available for singles, for children, for teens. Getting to know you, vitally important.
Extremely important. You know, I was a college graduate and I felt like I understood people and I loved my wife and we were going to have a wonderful marriage. Within 6 months after marriage,
6 months?
6 months, I was miserable.
Oh, dear.
I lost all those feelings and I thought, wow, you know, I should have listened to my mother.
Should I ask what she said or not?
Well, she wasn't real happy about me marrying my wife. But, you know, we had a lot of real struggles for a long time, really. I knew nothing about love languages. In fact, I knew very little about relationships, to be honest with you. And it was really after I was probably 6 years into the marriage when we finally learned, you know, how to love each other. And we didn't call it love language in those days. I didn't know anything about love languages, but I found out what she really wanted, you know. And when I helped her and did things around the house, you know, she was affirming to me. And my language is words, you see. And so, you know, in the early days, I didn't do anything to help her. I was in graduate school, and I thought, well, you know, I'm studying. I'm going to school. I mean, she can handle the, you know, vacuuming the floors, you know. But when I started doing those things, then she started affirming me. Before that, she would condemn me. You know, she was giving negative words, which hurts a person. If that's their love language, then negative words hurt more than it would hurt someone else.
And nagging is deadly.
And nagging, it was, you know, I saw it as nagging. But yeah, it's revolutionized our own relationship. And of course, I discovered the love language in the context of my counseling. Over and over again, they would sit in my office and one of them would say, I just feel like he doesn't love me or she doesn't love me. And the other one would say, I don't understand that. You know, I do this and this. I knew there was a pattern to it. So eventually I sat down and read several years of notes that I made when I was counseling people and asked myself the question, when someone said, I feel like my spouse doesn't love me, what did they want? What were they complaining about? And their answers fell into 5 categories. And I later called them the 5 love languages and started using it in my counseling and helping couples discover each other's love language, challenge them to go home and speak it. Sometimes they would come back within 3 weeks and say, Gary, this is changing everything. The whole climate's different now. So it's been amazing.
You had how many years married now, Dr.
Oh, I've been married 55 years. I got married when I was 9.
Hard to count when you get up there. You know, something important we must not miss is that you had something working against you. Every couple does if they don't realize that obsessive love, that being in love, only lasts, according to scientific study, 2 years.
2 years?
Yours ran out in 6 months, which is really scary.
We'd been dating for 2 years before that.
Oh, there you go.
So we came down pretty soon after the honeymoon. Yeah, no, I had no idea. I thought if you had the real thing, it was going to last forever. And I think that's the common perception. If you're really in love, you're going to feel this forever. No one told me that the average lifespan of the in-love obsession is 2 years. Some a little longer, some a little less, but the average is 2 years, and you come down off the high. Now, let's be glad that we come down off the high, because if we didn't, you'd have to close down business, educate. You can't get anything done when you're in love. You know, being in love is next door to being insane. But nobody told me that.
I think in your book you said champagne in your blood. Woo!
But you know, if you know that going in, and you learn each other's love language before you get there, when you come down off the high, you hardly miss it because you're speaking each other's language. You still feel loved. It's not the super, super, super high, but you still feel emotionally loved by each other. And then the rest of life is much easier to handle when you feel loved. We all have conflicts, but you can work out the conflicts if you feel loved. If you don't feel loved, typically you end up arguing with each other and you say nasty things to each other. And it gets even worse. and it goes downhill. And that's when, you know, a year later, 3 years, 7 years later, one of them says, I just don't love you anymore. And chances are they've already begun to get in love with somebody else. And it's tragic. You know, if we can learn the reality, we will come down off the high. Let's learn to speak each other's language. Let's keep emotional love in our marriage. Then chances are you're going to have a long-term healthy marriage. You're going to have the marriage you always wanted.
There's so much wisdom in here, so many things that you can apply. Dr. Chapman did Oprah's master class. It's time we sat at the feet. You may never even have heard of the book, even though it's been a hit for 25 years. As Dr. Chapman writes, life's deepest meaning is not found in accomplishments, but in relationships. Let's give it some time, some effort, and everyone around us will be enriched. 5 love languages has been transforming relationships, as I said, for a quarter of a century. It's time we read the classic. Get your copy today. Dr. Chapman, come back soon.
Thank you. I'd love to.